Welcome to week 5 of Computer Programming 1. Last week, week 4, we saw a lot of life events in programming, things that come with life experience, things like syntax errors, some terms, some common issues that you might find in one of the most important things, which is the debugger. Now, this week, we're going to focus on constructors and statics. That's going to be a small part of our discussion. The bigger part is going to be strings. Strings are very important in the Java programming language, especially today, more so today than even before. I'll tell you why in just a moment. First of all, if you take a look at our book, strings are covered in chapter 2, 2.5. So if you read chapter 2, you're good. Nothing new you need to read this week. It might be worth going back and brushing up, kind of as you've gotten used to a few more things. Go back and brush up on that, and it might make a little more sense after watching these videos. But nonetheless, why are strings important? Well, one of the things that we're going to see a lot in today's world of information technology is integration. And that's different from even 10, 20 years ago. A lot of times, 10, 20 years ago, you'd have an independent piece of software that wouldn't really integrate with anything else beyond just looking at a number, printing it out, typing it in somewhere else. Nowadays, we just expect integration. We expect that you deposit a check in the bank and you're going to see it on your mobile platform right away. We also expect you're going to go to the grocery store, see a digital offer, add it to your loyalty card, and it's going to know about that offer by the time you check out, which could be just a matter of seconds. So integration now is more important than ever. And a lot of times when we're looking at integration, we'll be looking at some kind of feed like this, which is called a JSON feed. So JavaScript Object Notation. Now this might look like a bunch of symbols, but what I've done is I've searched for redbud, which by the way is an outstanding tree if you live in the Cincinnati area. I could change it to oak if I wanted, and it would return a list of oaks. When I take that text and I paste it into, let me go back to redbud here. When I take that text and I paste it into a JSON viewer, we can go to viewer and we can start to visualize what this text looks like. And we can see that each of these numbers correspond to a different plant. So this is a data feed that we could integrate with, very common on mobile. As a matter of fact, something that we see now, Cincinnati Open Data Initiative, something that I saw originally in Chicago, but now see in Cincinnati as well, is this concept of open data, where cities and municipalities make their data available to software developers, that software developers can take that data and create apps based on that data. So we're not going to do anything with that in this course, but you will if you take future courses in things like mobile programming or enterprise applications, very common. Now, there are a lot of tools that will help us out, but at the end of the day, what do we have here? We essentially have a really big string with a series of delimiters. You see that the entire collection is in curly braces, as you've gotten to know curly braces so far this semester. Then you see that each of these individual rows has a very interesting syntax. A name in quotes, a colon, a value in quotes, a comma. A name in quotes, a colon, a value in quotes, a comma. A name in quotes, a colon, a value in quotes, a comma. And that repeats over and over again. And each one of these rows has the same names, but with different values. So ID 83, ID 1020, ID 125, ID 119, so on and so forth. So if we're given this raw data, we have to figure out how to parse it based on these things called delimiters, comma, colon, whatever it is, we have to figure out how to parse it. And that's really what this week is all about. So we see, okay, a little bit on constructors, but then we jump right in and we start talking about what a string is. This is our second trip on the carousel. This is, our first trip, we just knew string, double, int, that's all. That's all we cared about. Now we know about float, we know about long, byte, and short, Boolean, we know a few extra data types, but now we're also learning a lot more about strings. We first knew strings just as something that could hold any kind of character data. But now on our second trip on the carousel, we're going to take a lot deeper look at strings, and we're going to see what is a substring. A substring is part of a string. So if I take a look at our raw data here, species is a substring of this entire string I'm highlighting. Very important concept there. Okay, we move down and we see index of and character at. That's where we can look through a string and we can say what is the character at a certain position, or when is the first time I find the letter V? How far do I have to go before I find that letter V? So char at and index of are a couple of tools we're going to use for that. Reading and parsing delimited CSV data, so comma separated values. A lot of times that's the kind of thing you import into a spreadsheet like Excel. So this is kind of an applied, how do we take everything that we've learned, how do we read in comma separated value data, and how do we parse it into its constituent parts? Then something a little unrelated to strings, but kind of a good time to cover it, which is how to create one method out of another method. That probably doesn't make sense. Let me say a different way. You have a method, and at first it's innocent. It's maybe 5 lines, does one task. A method should do exactly one task. But it grows and grows and grows as you keep adding more to it. Next thing you know, it gets to 200 lines. It's very hard to manage. If you, the general rule of thumb is that a method should have no fewer than 2 lines, no more than 50. If you find that you're up in that 200 range, your method is no longer doing one concise thing and doing it well, and it's time to think about breaking it into smaller methods. So this last video talks about how to do that, how to take a big method and make it smaller. So lots of good things going on. Of course, check the Blackboard calendar for what is due. We have a couple of programming assignments that are coming up that are going to play very well into this. So take a look at that. But this week's lesson, a very important lesson, one I think you'll enjoy. And of course, as always, if you get stuck on anything, if you need any help with an assignment, I'm here to help. I'm here to make sure you're successful in this course. Please let me know if I can be of any assistance. Thank you.